Artlist.io.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of You Deserve Fresh Lettuce. I'm your co-host Rachel.
And I'm Delia.
And on this episode we're going to be talking about RESPECT, respect.
Show me what it means to me.
Respect and what it was like when we had it and some of the things we thought we might have done along the way to lose it.
I agree.
This is a show about divorce and relationships. We don't advocate for divorce, but we really lean heavily on our faith to guide us and to hopefully spread the message to you ladies that are listening through your darkest hour to figure out and discern what you need to do next, if anything. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome, welcome. So today what we're going to talk about is basically when you start a relationship, the basis, the foundation of a relationship and how that really just kind of sets a precedence or sets the way that the house is going to be structured. So if you start off being disrespectful in your relationship by maybe, having a one-night stand or going in the hacky sack right away, or maybe you make them wait or whatever the case may be, that kind of matters on how you will be respected. And in addition to that, if you do not, nicely and very stern, let the person know that, hey, I'm not okay with you speaking to me this way, or I'm not okay with these types of things. Like what you have to do in order to kind of build on that respect and what it takes for them to either lose it or gain it. But once it's lost, it's really difficult to get back.
Yes, absolutely. So you talked about the hacky sack, so I was like stuck on that. I think, listen, let's just kick it off with that conversation. What she's referring to is, how soon, you sleep with the person. So we're going all the way back to like early days dating before
from the beginning.
From the beginning. Because we were having a conversation off camera about how, gosh, isn't it crazy how what you do in the very beginning can often become an issue later on, even when you've already been married and have kids, right?
I think it always is something that happens. I mean, in every relationship that I've ever been, it's always something that kind of comes up, whether, maybe it was a decision that you made to not even go there with that particular person, or you did. Regardless of whatever it is that you decided to do, it's kind of like the oil with the water. It always seeps up, and it's always a topic of conversation when you have people that are like, hey, but what about this or what about that? And so I think it's like anything that you read or see. Some people say wait 90 days, which is like the famous 90-day.
Yes.
Like, do you wait? Do you not wait?
So I'm going to talk on the 90-day thing because I had had this conversation last year on another show, and it's like the 90-day thing I kind of correlate it to. So I'm an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, you run big business, I run big business, and the 90-day period is sort of that probation period, right? It's like that wait and see period.
Right.
Even if you're going to go get a job, you're kind of looking at that person to see, are they reliable?
Mm-hmm.
Are they trustworthy?
Mm-hmm.
Are they ethical? Like there's all these things, right, that a company that doesn't even really know you follows a process to even determine if they want to solidify and make that situation permanent with you. But
and
yet,
if they want to give you work benefits?
You know what I mean? If they want to give you the extra benefits, right? But we as women, we're like, oh my God, he's everything I've been looking for. Boom.
Right. And then there's a respect.
And then 90 days later, or a year later, or 2 kids and 20 years later, we're kind of sitting here going,
what happened?
What happened? Like, how come he doesn't respect me? How come he doesn't da-da-da? And it's like, wait a minute.
Right. Well, what happened was it started from the beginning. Yeah.
Yep.
But I always want to think, like, does that mean that if you make someone, because I've heard of people that actually wait until they actually get married and then they have sex. I don't know that that's necessarily indicative of having a wholesome, good, nurturing relationship or a marriage that is going to last a lifetime. I mean, I think sometimes it is what feels right. I don't believe in one night stands. Obviously, that's just my take, and I'm not trying to say that this is the way it should be or shouldn't be. In my opinion, I think it's a little bit disrespectful for your soul, your spirit to just go at the one night stand. But I don't know that if you waited 3 years and then finally decided to, go there, that would, if you get married, that it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, I think that's such a hard thing. Okay, so I'm going to share on that note
Tell
a
me.
little something. I raised 2 boys.
That's
I was
right.
a boy mom.
Yes.
And they became men and whatever. And I got to see a lot of things. I got to see their very early experiences with girls and how girls navigated, because they were both very handsome, and the things that these little girls would say and do from young was like shocking to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not that much older than my own kids. I had my children very young.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I was still related to them and everything, but when I was seeing some of this stuff, I thought, oh my God, I was mortified for the parents.
Right.
But at the same time, I was a little bit concerned for my sons, because I thought, how do I teach my sons to respect women?
Right.
If they're not, at a very young age, they're already throwing all of that out the door. And what I saw as they got older mortified me even more. But here's what I learned from them. Is I would see each of them had a different way and approach to relationships, and Delia knows my boys very, very well.
Yeah, I do.
They're crazy.
I love them. Yeah.
But one of the things is that when I sat down with them one day talking about, so what is going on? Like, this one always has a different girlfriend every week. This one is like,
Yes.
doesn't know what to do. So at the end of the day, what is it? And they would say that when they find a girl, they would find a girl, like one of them said, I really like her. I really, really like her. Like,
yeah.
They're in their 20s. This could be the one, whatever.
Yeah.
And they want to take her out and show her a nice dinner. They're treating her different. So you will know where you stand, because the guy is going to want to respect you.
Right.
I learned that from their actions. But because they're guys, they're still going to try it.
Right. They're going to test their luck, basically.
Because they're guys. And
Yes.
they made this very clear. Well, because we're guys.
Right.
Like, we're still going to try. And when you go ahead and do it with them, or whatever you want to call it, you have sex, whatever, a little part of them is a little disappointed. I've always
heard that, that's always something that I've always heard, that it's like, she's perfect, but
and it's what they wanted, right? Which is so confusing to us.
Right.
Because we're like, and I talked to a young girl who grew up in Beverly Hills, Hollywood area, and she's in that life, and she's an actress, and I'm not going to say her name or anything. And I asked her, because she's my son's age, so what's the dating like? And she said, it's so weird, because she went out on a date with a guy that didn't try to sleep with her on the first night, and so she just didn't even respond to his text, because she said, I just figured he wasn't
interested.
And I'm like, whoa, that is like, so we are talking about this right now as part of the respect part of this whole thing.
Well, I want to think that a lot of the times, like even now living through these times where Instagram or Snapchat or all these different social media platforms are just so accessible. So even like, for instance, Snapchat, okay, or maybe there's even another social media platform that I don't know about, like they actually have a field where you can, send private pictures, and then obviously it wipes out within, I don't know, I think within seconds. So you see it one time, and then if you take a picture of it, you're able to know that you took a picture. Yeah. And that's how Snapchat was created initially.
Yeah.
So there is a level of respect that is lost there, in my opinion, because obviously this is how these the younger generations are being conditioned to believe that that's okay. And in order to stay relevant to the people around them, is they have to share these pictures, or share a little bit of nudity. And if you are a virgin and you're young and you're kind of going through those crossroads, you're like, well, I have already done this, so what's the difference between doing that and then now coming into contact with this person that's already seen me? So there's so many variables to that, and I can say that because I have young teenage daughters. And so I have to stress to them that, there is nothing that you can't undo what you've already done. Yeah. If the respect is already kind of out the door, it's really, really, really hard to get back out the door and try to grab that respect, and in life, it really boils down to the way that you treat yourself and you treat others.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really what it is.
It is. It kind of takes me back a little bit to high school, in that I had this thing where I would never date a guy from my own school.
Okay.
Or like from my own town. So there's even songs written about this, like area codes or something.
I got holes in different
You
area
know what I
codes.
mean? And
Okay.
so it's like, but you know, I just was a little bit more aware of it because I just didn't want to hear it. And
Okay.
you know, we're kids, right? You
Yeah.
don't want the rumors. And this is, of course, ancient years ago. Like
I mean, not
before
too
social
long
media.
ago. Yeah, I guess
pre,
so.
like Google and Facebook.
Yes,
I mean.
I mean it is a long time ago.
You know,
Okay,
but
okay.
one of the
I get
things
that.
is like I just made sure that I wasn't doing that, and what I found between the girls.
Okay,
that
but
were,
let's just hold on. But what would you have done, right? You would have like taken a Polaroid and been like,
Okay.
hey.
Okay,
You
horror
can
story.
have
Okay,
this.
here is a respect fail. I'm
Okay,
gonna
tell
share
me.
it with the world.
Yes, say it.
So we used to walk around like little cameras
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever, right?
Yep.
But I used to have a chain and it
Yeah.
had my name on it. So
Okay.
a lot of us
Oh,
remember
yes.
that. They're kind of back
course.
in style.
They
right?
are. They
It's
are.
like
There's
every
so, I
20
still
years.
have one too. Yes.
Yeah, and it had my name on it.
Yep.
And so my best friend and I, Patricia, I want to put her name on.
Patricia,
We were trying to
Patty.
be super slick with this one guy that I think she's the one that liked him or whatever. And she said I took his camera because he had like a
Ah,
little
the little,
110
like,
camera, and she's like, I took his camera. We should go and take funny pictures like in the bathroom.
Ah.
So we do this whole thing in the bathroom, and we're thinking we're being real cute,
Yep.
and that we're gonna take all these pictures because
And they're gonna come out super pretty.
and then he's gonna develop it and like get in trouble because
Yeah.
like poor these girls
Yeah.
because he had a girlfriend. I know. So, anyways, I thought I was gonna be real cute. I think it was her idea. And she said, "What if we did something a little bit more like
Risque.
risque, and he's not gonna know who it is,
Ooh, ow.
right?" So we were like, "Okay." So we went there.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it.
The,
We
the,
went there.
the Snapchat is not going to clear that, right? That's
You
like
know,
hard copy.
Yeah. So we were like, bam, whatever.
There you go.
And let me tell you, I had never done anything like that before, but I forgot that I
Thank
had my name on my chain.
Oh.
So when she managed
no,
to get
no,
him the
no.
camera back, he comes up like a week later and he's like,
Hey, Rachel.
And I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, nice necklace. And I go, yeah, thanks. And then he was like, here. And he hands it, they used to make 2 copies.
Of course.
And he hands it back and I go, oh, but he was so nice. I don't know if he made copies or whatever.
Do you remember what it was about? Like what you took a shot of? It wasn't like
You can see my boobs.
Okay, so was it like cleavage shot or was it,
It
like
was
a
like cleavage
slash like?
But the way I did it, you could assume like I had no. It was almost like I was nude, but it was just like my top was like really down.
Oh,
like,
so you like
and the
bent
ankle,
over,
and I even like my hair was really long, so I even like she held my hair up, and we were really going for
You
it.
were going for
It
it.
was like just to shock him, to make him, so his girlfriend would be like, "What is this?" And
Why
then later
would
we
you do
could say,
this to
"We're
me?"
kidding."
Yeah.
So it was a little bit a prank gone wrong. Let me tell you.
Yes.
But
Thank God you were able to kind of come back from that. But there are people that do not.
that's what I'm saying. And he was nice enough to go, "Here's your pictures."
Aww.
But when you do, and that was just all fun and games, and it was probably not in the best taste. But
Yeah,
if
and you were
you're
young.
in the world now, and you're a young girl, or even not that young, middle age, and you're like, okay, because it's the thing, right, to send sexy
Yeah.
pictures.
Yes.
And you're thinking you're in this trusting relationship. Once
then all
it
of a-
leaves your phone,
It's done. It's gone.
it's
in the air.
Like, oh man.
I know.
Oh,
and
man.
even me being single now and dating, it's like, send me a picture of you. And I'm like, well, you know what I look like. And so then I'll send an old, like, I've already seen that picture, like an older picture. No, send me a picture. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want those types of pictures out there. So if I have this motto, if I can't put it on my Instagram with all my friends and family to see, then I'm not going to send it.
That's a
so
good one.
So if it's a bikini shot, because maybe I was at the beach, okay, I would be willing to send that. I would be willing to post that on my profile. Then I'll send that picture. But if I can't post it, I can't send it. And that's literally,
That's excellent.
that's literally like what I always even tell my daughters, like, okay, well, you don't know what people's intent or intentions are, and you don't know how they're going to use that against you to say, well, here's this girl that did this or did that. And so it happens more often than not. And I think that once, that's gone, there's no getting that back. And I do feel that when you meet somebody, like for instance, that particular person that you send those pictures to with the Rachel necklace, like had you guys actually started a relationship, that would have always, in my opinion, been the oil. That would have been the oil in the water, where it would have always floated up like, is that what you normally do? Is that how you really are? Because no matter who it is, and no matter who you talk to, it's always an issue. Like, Is that something that you would do?
When I met my husband, I met him at the mall.
Okay.
So again, really young. So I'm at the mall, and I was
Right.
with my boyfriend,
Ooh.
who I had been with for several years. And the hard part about that boyfriend, who I completely love and respect, he is my aunt by marriage's brother. So it's like my uncle, who's my blood, married a woman, and and we love her.
So
and
obviously
like
it's like this family unity.
Yeah, and it's like her.
That
It's
just
like
is
her
there.
little brother. I'm Mexican.
Yes.
It is what it is, right?
It's like keep it in the
So,
family,
you know,
mija.
so we became friends, and
Yes.
everybody's like, "Oh, you guys should be boyfriend and girlfriend." And
Yep.
it was one of those things where it was like, "Oh, okay, like, I don't know." But we did, and it was great, and it was so much fun and everything. But I was with him at the mall when I met my future husband. And
Wow.
so my future husband, he decided to shoot his shot. He saw
Ah.
me with my boyfriend, and then saw me by myself at the drink fountain, and then came up and asked for my number. So here's the thing. I knew I was getting ready to break up with my boyfriend. I already knew because everybody was rushing the relationship. I was like 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
And it was already like, oh my God, when you guys get married, and when you guys get married, and when you guys get married, I thought, I haven't even decided that for myself. I wanted to go to college. And
Yeah.
so I felt like it was getting too heavy and I wanted to leave. And so what I ended up doing was, obviously, I just randomly, without looking for it, see this guy. He comes up to me, very good looking. And I was like, oh my God. And he was more my age. He played
Right.
football in high school. I was in high school. My boyfriend was older, so he was not in high school. Anyways, I gave him my number.
Oh.
And then as soon as he called me, like a week later or whatever it was, he phones me, we set up a date. I then break up with my boyfriend before I go on the first date. Because it's just like my thing.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be cheating.
It's like the whole energy thing of like, okay, it was already on its way out, but
Yes.
I'm open, so now it's okay.
Yeah, it's like now it's like an excuse. It was like that thing I needed to like break it off. So I break it off and everything, and now I'm dating this other person, who's my future husband. And let me tell you something. For like the longest time,
He wouldn't let it go.
we would go places and everything, and if a guy would look, or he's like, ugh, like he would get so insecure.
There goes the oil in the water. That's
And then
what I
when
mean.
we were married,
Yeah.
and I was in a career with a lot of very successful, wealthy
men.
men, he'd be like, yeah, but how do I know? Because look how I got you.
Right.
And it was like, what? I was 16 and like suffocating.
Right, and not to mention, like, you came and you
shot
know,
your
you're
shot
the
with a
one
girl
that did it.
who had
So
a
like,
boyfriend. Yes.
but at the end of the day, I don't think that is what they initially think. It's just something that just kind of happens, and then all of a sudden, it's something that they can never let go. It's like, well, why did you do that? And so, at the end of the day, I don't think you ever imagined that was going to be your husband, right? For 20 years.
I just thought, it was a good looking way to get out of my situation.
Okay, so is it kind of like the whole in a relationship, out of relationship?
It's like it takes one to forget one.
Yeah.
It
So
was
is
that
that basically what
It's
it was?
what it was, yeah.
So
It
you're
was
like,
just
okay.
like a excuse, just a way to make it easier to
And
just leave.
but you never once thought this could be my husband.
No,
right? Not at that
Yeah,
age.
no.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, well, now what?
Yeah. Even when I actually got pregnant by him,
Yeah.
I remember that moment and everything. And I thought, oh man, this relationship's coming to an end because I was going to go to college and he kind of wasn't moving forward.
Were you a senior in high school?
I was already like moving forward with my life and doing all kinds of stuff. I was in pageants and all this kind of, things. And I thought, I'm on my way, and he's still kind of
Stop.
in the neighborhood or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was more like I kind of gave into that whole scenario because I just felt like he was great, but it was coming to an end. And then that's where I
found out. You're
Yeah.
pregnant, you're having a baby.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that definitely will, forever, keep you bonded or keep you together. And then, of course, some people do what's right, which is get married.
We got married. Yeah, he was more like, I want you to know you're pregnant, and I want you to know, like, we're going to get married. Like, he already had it all figured out in his head, and I was more like, what?
You were like,
what is going
what
on?
happened?
Yeah.
The lights never turned on?
But it
Or it's
worked
like,
out the way it was supposed to. I don't
think
have
so.
regrets or anything.
Yeah.
And I know these days a lot of guys don't want to get married.
But I want to think that. So I do meet a lot of single men that have never been married, have no children, along with women also. But I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with them. We're kind of getting off the subject, but regardless, I don't think that there's anything necessarily wrong with people that decide not to get married. I think that the statistics speak for themselves. And so you have to be so sure that the person that you're making this life-changing decision with is not only going to be there for the good, but it's going to be there for the bad. I mean, we're living through COVID moments. Like, you got to make sure that that person's willing to put the mask on and take care of you.
Yes.
I mean, or, you know, take one for the team or not. But I'm just saying, it's not just always the good. There's always good and bad and ugly. And depending on how, you know, the relationship kind of gets established and the way that you grow, I mean, how you guys grow together.
Yes.
Because you guys can grow apart.
Yes, I think with the like taking it back to the respect thing, you know, I feel like there comes a moment where there's like a little bit of a switch, like there's something that switches, like the balance shifts,
Right.
And it feels like in the beginning maybe we have a lot of power,
Right.
Like they really are trying to kind of be behind, like little puppy dogs, like,
yes.
oh my God,
Like, what do you need? What do you need?
They want to
What do you
impress
need?
us, and they want to do all these things, and they just see us like this amazing, like they've like won the lottery, like
Right.
it's like a golden
But
ticket.
don't you feel, hold on, and I'll go back to what you're saying. Don't you feel, though, that whomever has the upper hand will have the upper hand for that moment, but then the person that was chasing will then be the one with the upper hand? Does
That's
that
what I'm
make
saying.
sense? Like, it
And that's what I'm saying,
switches,
it
right?
switches.
Yeah, you're like, now I'm the puppy,
Yes.
and now you're the one with the upper
Yes.
hand.
And I think what happens, at
Yes.
least, you know, I can speak for my own self. It
Yes.
was like in the beginning, he was like, wow, wow, wow. We get married, and then it's like, I think I went into something in my mind
Right.
of like, I got to be this great wife. And we just did an episode about being the perfect wife. And all
yes.
this stuff. But it's like, I think I went into this syndrome of like wanting to be like, is it subservient or,
I would
you
think
know,
so, yeah.
you know,
Being subservient, make sure that you
feminine,
take care of everything.
wife-like and everything. And I think that slowly but surely,
Kind of got to his head.
yes,
where
and
he's
then
like,
it's just like, oh, and
as
then,
you should.
yeah, and it's that thing that we said before.
Mm.
Pay someone $1 million
Mm-hmm.
once for a job that they did, and they'll be so grateful. But do it 3 times in a row, and they'll start to think that they
Like,
deserve it.
well, you're not paying me $500 grand. Like, I need a mill, you know? But I feel that when it comes to, let's go back to the whole respect thing, right? I think once, for instance, if you start cursing at each other, if you start, you know, if you pull, you know, her hair, and or you swing at him, and or you slash his tires, depending on how toxic you are.
Toxica.
If you're that toxic, you just get out, like, immediately. But my point to that is, it's really difficult to get back to a place of loving, caring,
Oh yes.
respect. And now the person that you are, it's like now sleeping with the enemy, really. Because you just don't know what you're going to get from that significant other, whether it's a woman to a man or a man to a woman. It doesn't really matter. Once that respect is gone, it's really difficult to get back to that place where, you know, you always get hurt about something that they said that was super negative, and or you or that person. You know, it's always really hard to get back.
You know, I love that. I had seen a thing with Will Smith. I think it was like on his wife's show, Red Table Talk or something. And they were talking about a moment in time. I think they were dating.
Okay.
But they were like living together at this
Okay.
point. And they were playing a game, and you can look it up or whatever. But there was a moment where he said that she then told him like to F off, or she did something that was a little bit more crass in front of their friends during a game night.
Okay.
And he kind of looked at her. He didn't like it. It struck him wrong.
Right.
And so he pulled her aside. They were in the room, and he said, I need you to understand something. I need you to never, ever speak to me like that again. And she's like, what? You're crazy. You know, because she was very independent.
And I'm sure she probably comes from, that's
Yeah.
probably what she's used to.
So she was like, this guy's just being sensitive.
Right.
And like, what's his problem? So she's like, no, like her whole thing was, you're not going to tell me
How
what I
to
can-
be.
how to
Yeah.
be. And he said, I'm going to tell you one more time.
Yeah.
If you're going to choose to speak like that and have that kind of verbal interaction with your partner, which is me, I'm not going to be your partner. He was willing, and she said, you're willing to like walk away from everything we built over a word I said? And he said, yes.
Right.
And I remember watching that thinking, that is the difference, I think, between people who are able to maintain their respect throughout their relationship
Right.
and those who lose it to a certain extent, is because of what we start to allow ourselves to tolerate.
Right.
And then it's like that line crossing. Like I say, my ex-husband was a habitual line stepper.
Because
it's
you
like-
allowed it.
And then what would I do?
Yeah.
What would I do?
But I think it goes further than, I think it's not to say that she can't be that way. She most definitely can be that way. But he's basically drawing the line in the cement, saying you could be that way, but you can't be that way with me.
Right.
So you could be that way all day long, and you could be disrespectful with whomever. You're just not going to disrespect me.
Right.
And I think that's like the biggest difference, because I think that's what shows you to say, hey, you know what? You got to respect me, and I got to respect you. And I think it becomes like this rhetorical thing. Like, I respect you, respect me. And it goes back to like the golden, what is it, like, do unto others as you like to do unto you.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty common sense. It's the stuff that your parents taught you, but a lot of the times we forget, and especially with the person that we decide to spend the rest of our lives with or our time with, rather than, making the best of it, we make the worst of it.
It's true, and I've seen a lot of people make messes. We all make a mess in our relationship at some point, and I think the biggest mistake that we can make as women is that when your spouse or your boyfriend or your partner or whatever goes on this emotional tangent, it's like a roller coaster of emotions. Mm-hmm. Like, literally, they could be on the phone with you from work in such a great mood, right? And then take a 30-minute drive in commuter traffic and get home as like a total jerk, and you're like, what happened? I was just having this conversation with someone, and I thought that used to happen to me too. And whether or not you take that emotional ride with them is completely up to you. Mm-hmm. And I advise you not to, because sometimes we have to remember men are just different. Like, they're just different. So if he comes home and he's like, tossing things around and snapping at you, instead of going, what the hell's your problem? Right. And snapping back at him, and now you're both in it, because technically that's what he wants. He wants to pick a fight for no reason, doesn't even probably realize why. You need to just go, ooh, you're having a rough one today, and learn to then just go, okay, and just go do something else. You know what I mean?
Well, I know that I used to always hear it's better to have one crazy person than two crazy people. So that makes a big difference. And I can say it for myself, because I did used to work with my ex-husband, and there were times where we had our own offices, which was great. But, the stuff that was going on in the office would obviously come home, because it was part of our life. And so I needed to know how to separate the fact that he's maybe not meaning it towards me. It's just something that's really heavily like bugging him, versus, us taking it home and then me getting crazy with him and him getting crazy with me, and then living this crazy life as it wasn't easy. Yeah. But I needed to know, like, okay, it's not personal. Is this personal? No, it's not personal. But a lot of the time, sometimes we are conditioned to react or excuse bad behavior too. Yes. I mean, I'm guilty of that. Like, I excuse bad behavior. So sometimes maybe I was excusing his disrespect to say, oh, well, he's just having a bad day. It's like, no, it's not about the bad day. He's being disrespectful. Right. And that's not okay. Right. So you got to take it back to Will Smith and say, hey, you know what? The way that you're treating me, I understand you're going through something, but don't talk to me like that. Yeah. And you have to know when to say it, because life is timing. Yep. You can't just, right there when he's in the heat of the moment, throw some other things in there and it's gonna pop off. Yeah, like, you gotta know when. You gotta know when.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, I think that's what matters, don't you think?
It does. It makes such a big difference. Because just because they're trying to pick a fight doesn't mean that they necessarily want you to go to that level. I have a bunch of brother-in-laws. I'm still pretty close to them, and I learned a lot from them. And one of the things that I did learn was one of them had a girlfriend, or I don't even want to get too into it, but they got into a heated fight. I'm not saying he was innocent. I'm not saying he didn't tell her a world of stuff. I'm sure he did. But at the end of the day, she lost it. Like, she told him stuff like, mother effer, I will cut off your, and blah, blah, blah.
Lorena Bobbitt ain't got nothing on me. Do you even know? Yes.
Lorena Bobbitt.
No way.
And I'm sure he deserved it. Here's the thing. Like, I'm sure he deserved it. Right. However, his male brain
just
saw his beautiful partner that he just thought was so amazing and everything. He saw she revealed the ugliness within herself. And ever since that moment,
he just had no respect.
Something just kind of broke. It just kind of broke in him. And then let me tell you, the next time they'd fight, it would get dirtier and meaner and dirtier and meaner. And then I don't know that they've ever really recovered from that. and it becomes this kind of, it sets the precedence and the tone of like how
Right.
they fight. And people say you should fight fair and don't go below the belt and don't say things that you can't take back or regret or whatever. But let me tell you, when he said that to me, he said, "Oh, it was as if I now see her as a totally different person."
Ooh.
And he wasn't sure that he necessarily loves that person. He loved the other person that he was being rude to. So that's what I'm saying. It gets complicated because on one hand, it's like I'm sure he came home being freaking rude.
Right.
She's not just gonna be like that for no reason.
Well, and I think it's one of those things where both parties need to sit down and say, hey, that's not okay. But if you go below the belt, the likelihood of that person then later, maybe after the second or third time that you do it, they're gonna do it too. And then they're gonna hit you where it hurts. Because guess what? We speak about our vulnerabilities to the people that we love the most. So the men that are in our life or the women that are in our life, let's just say, they're going to know our most vulnerable things, and they're going to hit you right at your vulnerability and say, well, what about your big ears? And what about your big nose? And what about you, Santa's little freaking helper? You're so short. And look at, I mean, it's true. And that's where, you start to disrespect each other because you guys are not really like, oh, well, maybe you should, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just, there's so many variables to it that I think that if you could just really think about what you're going to say and how it's going to affect you, then maybe you would think twice before you say it. Just say, okay, how is this going to make things better? Okay, it's not. And on the contrary, sometimes if you can take that power back and that energy back and just say, you know what, I understand you had a rough day. I'm going to go ahead and go upstairs, or I'm going to go to another room. When you're cool off, come talk to me. Yeah. I think that's going to make someone feel even worse to say.
He's going to feel
like, wow, she took all that power back, rather than saying, here's your little hat, Santa's little helper. Talk to me in December. Okay? Like, seriously.
Because, misery loves company.
Absolutely.
And when they're in that miserable state, they're going to try to drag you into it. And it doesn't mean he doesn't love you or anything like that, but you got to be careful. Pastor T.D. Jakes, he's a well-known pastor of Houston, Texas, I believe it is. And he said a really wonderful thing because he gives marriage advice. And he said something, a really great perspective on the male mind. He said, women, we make words, right? And when those words, when women make words, men are making decisions. About those words, and they may not say nothing. And he has this great thing, you can look it up on YouTube, where he says he may still come home and bring you that anniversary gift. He may still bring you that Valentine's card or those flowers, but he is gone. Meaning, like, you made your words and he made his decisions. And so men don't always say, and I don't think they always recognize that moment where it's lost. But I can tell you that based on what he said and what my brother-in-law said, and even like my sons being so young, it sounds like we have more control over their perception of us than we think. Right. Because when they're spitting all this negativity at us, it's a reflection of themselves. Right. And their own insecurities. Right. And they really feel like they're not worthy. Right. And it manifests in all kinds of crappy ways.
It does.
But at the end of the day, how we respond to that behavior
says 1,000 words.
It's a make or break.
But don't you feel like, I know that in the past when someone's come at me with something and it's like, and they're being really disrespectful and mean, and I usually now really, really think about, I pick and choose my battles. I mean, at this age, it's taken me a while to actually do that. And but now I'm just like, wow, okay, I didn't know you felt that way, but I respect that. Yeah. And then it's like, but you know what? I'm going to give you your time, and you can come get your stuff at this time. I'm good. And then it's like, wait, no. And it's like, no, this is really who you truly, really, really, really are. Like, you're showing me, and I didn't know you felt that way, but I respect that. Because I could go back and hit him right underneath the belt, but he's only showing me what he's going to be like. Like, now, once you're in a marriage, though, you got to work out those perks, and then you have to know how to flip that, meaning you got to know when to say, you know what, let me get my power back and say, you know what, you probably had a really long day, and I understand that, or not even say anything, and just go to another room. You know what, you might get your power back right away, and then you'll see the shift and the apology should come, unless, you know, the person's different, but the apology should come rather than being like,
And really the greatest apology is a change in behavior.
the best, yeah. But if it's a continuous thing, then it's like, then
you gotta like realize,
Yeah.
that there's still ways to turn it around. I mean, I know that myself coming from a long-term marriage, 20 years, there were moments in time that you would think I would have never been able to turn that ship around. And just with my own little adjustments that came from my self-confidence,
True.
my willingness to not engage when he was real messy about things, not to take those emotional roller coaster rides with him, to still find my own joy with my own career, interests, friends, activities with the kids. We've talked about, personal appearance and care.
Right.
Like all these things really made a huge difference that while he was this Tasmanian devil, angry, throwing things, having a fit, whatever it may be, I was kind of like this calm in the storm, looking at him going, that must really suck to be stressed out every day or like having a fit every day.
We're having a pity party today. We didn't bring a hat for you.
Yeah, I didn't take that on at all. I was like, I'm not participating in that.
I'm not feeding into that.
And there's a saying that says, don't wrestle with pigs because you'll both get dirty, but the pig will like it.
That's true. And I like that saying because you know what? It's truly true. So I think on the contrary to arguing and fighting and being disrespectful to each other, I think that you could do one of two things. I mean, you can go back in the room and say, I'm going to get super dolled up and dressed up and say, I'm going to go to the market right now.
I'm going to go buy some eggs. I'm going to
go
pick
milk
up some
and eggs.
milk
And I'll be right back. Yeah, I'm going to get some milk and cookies. No, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's really simple. It's easier said than done, though.
It is, and it takes time and practice, and it's just one little step forward, one little thing forward. And then just communicating and then just demonstrating that you're not going to roll around with him when he's being a little sloppy pig.
Amen.
And then you're just going to go, hey, and when he behaves, you're there and you're
No
like,
reaction.
Hi, babe.
No reaction.
Looking good. Feeling good.
Yeah,
Let's go do it.
let's
Just
go.
keep it moving. Well, I think that's it, right, for this episode?
I want to say that it is. Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't say necessarily do what feels right. On the contrary, do what doesn't feel right, meaning that if you're normally very disrespectful and you want to, hit them where it hurts, really think about not doing that and just really taking a deep breath, counting to 10 internally and just saying, okay, I'm not going to feed into this and I'm not going to be disrespectful. And on the contrary, say, okay, you're having a bad day. And you walk into another room, get your power back.
Yeah.
And just go about your day. And I promise you, it should be within that hour, unless you're with someone that's really hard-headed. You should be getting an apology because they will understand that they were wrong for the way they were treating you. Not to mention, you will get your power back and that respect. So, I mean, that's really all I have to say. And that's my input when it comes to, hitting it where it hurts or hitting below the belt. I think that's the best thing, the best approach in my opinion.
And that power, that super cape, is actually a smile. It's your joy.
Of saying, okay.
When you're able to just sit there and be joyful and be happy and at peace while he's going through his misery.
You're just like,
sip your tea and enjoy the rest of your day.
And then expect the apology. I think that's what happens next. Yes. So anyway, that's it for us today.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. Please stay tuned for our mantra. We do a powerful, uplifting prayer/mantra at the end of each episode. We want you to say it out loud, say it proud, and hold your head up high, knowing that you're not alone through whatever it is you're going through. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Have a good day. Bye.
Father God, I ask that you bless me to understand that it's always darkest before the dawn, that your plans for me are bigger than my plans for me. I trust in you, Lord, and you will light and shine the path I was meant to be on. I am open to receive the blessings coming my way. I declare that I deserve respect. I deserve love. I deserve happiness. I deserve to feel beautiful, and that I deserve fresh lettuce.